Jason, you good with your mic? All right. Notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, please complete the public wishing to address the council form located on either end of the counter and give it to either the chairman or the council clerk prior to the beginning of the meeting. All comments must be addressed to the council as a whole. Addressing individual council members or staff is not allowed. Speakers should be courteous in their choice of words and actions, and comments shall be limited to the issue and cannot involve individuals or staff-related matters. All cell phones and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. I'd like to call the meeting of the Terrebonne Parish Council of Wednesday, October 30th, 2024 to order. We will have the invocation and pledge by Councilman Carl Harding. Would you please rise?
Heavenly Father, it's truly a blessing for me to be standing before mankind and professing to know my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Oh God, we come today asking that you give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from above, and most importantly, oh God, as I've read in this great book, oh God, we look at the fourth chapter of the book of Luke, verses 18 and 19. Understanding, oh God, that we have people that are looking forward to us, oh God, without prejudice, without malice, without hatred. We want to take care of the affairs, of God, of this particular parish, of God, that we be an example to the rest of the world. We ask that you bless us in your darling Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Smith, may we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Harding,
Here.
Mr. Voisin, Mr. Amity,
Here.
Mr. Champagne,
Here.
Mr. Hamner,
Here.
Mr. Babin, Ms. Chauvin, Mr. Trusclair, Mr. Pleasure. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you, ma'am. Approve the minutes of the regular council session held on September 25th, 2024. Moved by Mr. Babin. Second by Mr. Harding. Members, vote your machine.
I did. Touched it. Thank you.
9 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Distribute the minutes of the regular council session held on October 16th, 2024 has been done. Distribute the minutes of the special session condemnation hearing held on October 29th, 2024 has been done. Approve counts payable bill list for 10/21/2024 and 10/28/2024. Moved by Mr. Harding, second by Mr. Babin. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Approve the manual check listing for September 2024. Move Mr. Pleasure, second Mr. Champagne. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays. Item 1, general business. A, in memory of Donald P. Don Schwab Sr., who's Mr. Parish President.
Thank you. So we're doing our proclamation tonight in the honor of Donald P. Don Schwab Sr., who was a former parish president and steward in our community. And so I want to go ahead and read this resolution. In memory of Donald P. Don Schwab Sr., whereas Donald P. Don Schwab Sr. was an extraordinary resident of Terrebonne Parish and former parish president from 2004 to 2008, and steered the parish after Hurricanes Katrina and Rita devastated our area. And whereas Don had many accomplishments throughout his life, beginning with an astonishing athletic career at Thibodeau High School that continued at Louisiana State University, where he became the only fullback in LSU history to lead the SEC in rushing yards. And whereas Don, known as the coach to many during his professional journey, where he enjoyed teaching and coaching at the high school and college levels at schools in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Gray, Houma, and Thibodeau, before transitioning as the director of Terrebonne Parish Recreation. And whereas his career in public service expanded when he was elected parish president, then continued his years of service with the district attorney's office, working as a case manager in the truancy reduction program. And whereas Don, at his core, was a devoted husband and family man who spent much of his time as he could uplifting and supporting his children and grandchildren, never missing events or activities. He was also a dear friend that offered a helping hand or listening ear whenever called upon. And whereas he was a wealthy man by all standards measured by the impact on others and cherished by those who knew and loved him, who will be sorely missed and leaves behind a fond legacy. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Terrebonne Parish Council on behalf of the Parish President, Jason W. Bergeron, and the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, that we honor the life and legacy of Donald P. Don Schwab Sr. for his acts of service shared with Terrebonne Parish and all of its residents. Signed, Jason W. Bergeron, Parish President, and John Amity, Council Chairman. And so I'd like to get the family up to accept this and let them say a few words if they would like to. We are in the process of working through something to honor him with naming something in the parish, and we're going through that process. But we felt it was very important to address this sooner rather than later, and to show respect and honor for a man who's done great things throughout our parish and our region. And so I called the family if they'd like to join me. I'll keep it brief. At first, I just want to thank sincerely from our family to the parish government, Jason, Parish President Jason, and everybody involved in the last couple of weeks. Y'all did an outstanding job to honor my dad through the parish, through the various things that you did, and we really we'll never forget it. And just thank you very much. Really appreciate it from the family. Thank you all.
Mr. Babin?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nancy and DP and Christy and Michelle and the whole family, thank you all so much for sharing Don with this parish. He's touched countless lives in his life, not only his children, but all the other children's children that are coming along in athletics and sport. And Terrebonne Parish is a better place that Don Schwab lived here. So thank you all for sharing him with us.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Mr. Champagne?
Yeah, I also want to, echo the same sentiment. When I started my first soccer coaching gig was at Vanderbilt, and he was there, and he was very helpful getting me along that line of coaching, and I ended up doing it off and on for about 30 years. So I want to thank him for that and for you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Champagne. Mr. Bergeron, you have anything more to add?
No, I'll say this, just if anybody needs anything with the family, we're here. And if there's anything more we could do to assist in any way. And as soon as we have more information on what we're going to do in the future, I'll be reaching out to the family. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bergeron. And as a graduate of H.R. Bourgeois, Coach was something else. I didn't play sports. He encouraged me to run track because I'd run an 800, but just wasn't my thing. I couldn't see torturing myself to do that. But as a gentleman, he inspired the lives of many young men that today, I'm sure, when you run into them, they all have a story of how he made them what they are today. Coach was just something else. You don't always get to see the fruit of your labor at the time or in a short period, but as time goes on and you cross paths with those who were children or now are adults, and then you see what they become, it means a whole lot. And I hope that experience was there for Coach, that he was able to see that in the lives that he touched within the community. You know, we honor him as parish president, but he did so much more for this parish throughout all his years. And I can say in my time at H.L. Bourgeois, you know, we really appreciated the leadership that he had, even for those of us that were in other activities like band and choir and stuff, we still looked up to those leaders because we still had them for PE and other things. And they still left a lasting imprint. And I can tell you, to the day I die, I will always remember Coach Schwab. Mr. Hamner?
Yeah, and I apologize for bringing up the rear. I hit the wrong button again. I hit the yay button instead of the request to speak. Yeah, I told DP at Rhoda Fest, the last time I got to see Coach was y'all were running out the back door last summer and going somewhere, and you had to step back in the house, and Coach invited me in, and he says, "You sure you want to do this?" This is when I was campaigning, and he said, "You sure you want to let me tell you what you're getting involved with?" And he spent some time with me, and and I appreciated that so much. And little did I know it would probably have been the last time I saw him. But he was a great man, and I loved him just as much as y'all. He took time for everybody, and he made the time for everybody. And and you know how Uncle Clyde feels about your family, boy. I just wanted to express my condolences and my joy for knowing the man that touched this whole parish, and look what he left behind. Gosh, it's great. All right, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Hamner. Mr. Pulaski?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tenacious. I learned how to become that because of Coach. And the story that I'll tell you is JV track, right? I ran cross country all through high school, but track only did a couple of years, and I learned why quick. So ninth grade, we're at the district track meet. I was a miler, and we're at South Terrebonne. And I was the slowest one on the team as far as, the mile, right? And so we're looking at these guys, and these guys have mustaches, and we're just skinny little runts. And we said, okay, well, we got to come up with a strategy. So coaching strategy was rabbit runner. So being the slowest on the team, I was designated rabbit. Well, when that gun went off, I tore off as fast as I could, and my hair went this way because I was passed so fast by all the guys on the line, including my own teammates, I might add. But the tenacity stuck with me, and I did all 4 laps, even though those of you who have ever been to a track meet, you know that things go on and they move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So I don't know what was happening, but I do remember coming around for those last 50 meters when I made that last turn. I stuck by all 4 laps, and I got a standing ovation from the people in the stands right there. But that tenacity I owe to Coach Schwab, so I just want to put that out.
Thank you, Mr. Pulaski. Okay. To the family, again, thank you for sharing Coach with us. And we'll give you an opportunity. I mean, I'm sure you don't want to stick around for all this all this boring stuff that we do. Thank you for all throughout all the years. And we'll give you a little bit of time to exit. Okay, item B, updated EPA regulations from Consolidated Waterworks District Number 1 General Manager, Mr. Michael Sober.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. Mike Sober, 8814 Main Street, Consolidated Waterworks, General Manager. Before I start, I'd like to introduce my boss, Ms. Terry Chatinier, former councilwoman as well as chairman of the Board of Commissioners for Consolidated Waterworks. So I'm here tonight because I want to advise you of our procedures that we are using to comply with the Environmental Protection Agency's October the 8th, 2024 final rules and regulations for lead and copper. And so that's kind of what I want to just advise you and let you know what's going on. The public will be involved in this, and I think you're going to probably get some calls about what's going on. And let me just say it again and again and again. The water is safe. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. This is a federal government imposed rules and regulations that we have to go. And I'm just trying to tell you how we have met those rules. It's a live action that continues to live, and it's changing every day. This rule has been in the making probably since 2022. October the 8th, like a little over 3 weeks ago, they finally made it final. We had to do something by the 16th of October. So we have well over 5,000 man hours of engineering time in this program. We have met their requirements and will meet their requirements and prove that we do not have any lead in our pipes. But I do want to at least let you know what this is all about. So I thought we might, Ms. Tammy, can I be smart enough to figure this out? No, this turns it on. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of history. This year, 2024, celebrates the 50th year anniversary of the federal government's Safe Drinking Water Act. That was instituted in 1974, and basically it assured citizens of America to know that they would always have safe drinking water. In 1986, there were amendments made to the EPA lead and copper rule, which we're here to talk about tonight. This is an ongoing problem. It's been around for a long time, not only in water, but you also might remember the paint chips that used to fall off the walls that young children would eat and consume way back in the 70s. So now we have no lead in paint. You will also know that there is no more leaded gasoline, so that the carbon dioxide, when it got clean, acid rain, that's what that's all about. And of course, in drinking water. In 1992, they upped the ante and began increasing the amount of work that needed to be done to assure safe water. Excuse me, let me just get this thing. Oh, I'm doing the wrong thing, Miss Tammy. I'll get there. So this was 86 and 92. The federal government required that we begin testing for lead and copper in the early 90s. And the way you do that is you contact customers, just ordinary people that have a house. We give them the test bottles. They take what they call first draw. In other words, you turn the water on and you grab it. You put it in, we send it off, it gets tested and comes back. So we did that for a number of years and were very successful, even to the point where we were allowed to reduce the monitoring that we did. If we had maybe 200 homes, we were down to 20 homes because we had proved that there was no lead or copper in the water. The copper part is more there because in the old days, they used lead solder to put copper together, okay? We have never found a lead service line in Terrebonne Parish. Lead was primarily used as a conductor of, water in the early 1900s. Well, up until 1950, if you left the city of Houma, there was only cisterns. There was no pipes with water. Okay, so that actually is going to make our job a lot easier, proving what we think we already know. But we did a good job. We did a reduction in things, and one of the things that helped us is this right here. The first thing is Sequest. It's a corrosion inhibitor. It's a polyphosphate that we add in the water. It's safe drinking for drinking water, and basically what it does is it coats the inside of the pipe. And so that if there is any lead on the outside, which is in the pipe, it can't leach through that. And we've been using this for years. It's National Safe Science Foundation safe. We use a ton of it all the time, and it does a good job. The other thing we do in the middle is a coupon rack, and it's not an erector set that we did with PVC, but inside each one of those little white PVC taps is some kind of piece of metal. And the water runs over it all the time. We know the exact weight of the metal before, and then once every 60 days, we take this out, clean it all up, send it to the lab. They weigh it in like 1/1000th of a gram. And that's how we tell if we're corroding anything, if the pipes are getting corroded. If you have lead, that's a bad thing. The chlorine that we use as our primary disinfectant and is acidic, and it leaches the lead out of the pipe. So we've protected it with the corrosion inhibitor. We test it all the time. The water runs through this all the time. And we take these samples and we know it. And we know if there's going to be a problem because it's going to show up here first. So, I don't know, where is it at? The thing that really kind of hit the fan here was in April of 2014, Flint, Michigan. It sends chills down any water person's back, I promise you. What happened was the city of Flint, Michigan changed from buying water from the city of Detroit, which took their raw water from Lake Huron, and switched it to Flint River. Much cheaper, they didn't have to pay anybody, they went. The problem was they didn't realize that the water in Flint, Michigan was much more acidic than Lake Huron. So if you remember your sixth grade science class, 7.0 is neutral, below 7 is acidic, above that is alkaline. That's what happened. And it took them a while before they figured out what was going on. Then once they found out, they did some dumb things like tried to hide it and cover it up and blame everybody else. But that really got everybody looking at potable water in lead pipes. This thing doesn't go. Oh. Okay, so the EPA required, after 2 years of planning, that water utilities do some things. The first thing they required was that we prepare an information through a customer survey. I'm going backwards. Let me get back here. I'm sorry. Right. Okay. So on the 16th of October, the portal opened and we had to submit an inventory. So we have over 50,000 service connections that we had to survey and see what was what and what was there. The city of Houma, when we took them over, had a lot of meters. There was no record, so we really don't know. But the feds have allowed us to use some statistical methods and means that they've gleaned from the state of Michigan and Ohio, which are the two states that have been at the forefront of all of this testing, to set our rules, okay? So over the 50,000 meters that we have, we will be required to dig up 381 service lines from a randomly generated database. Don't know, might be your yard, might be my yard, might be somebody else's yard. That's gonna probably set some people off and get them a little nervous. This is all part of the process that we have to go through. Doesn't mean they have lead, doesn't mean anything. It just meant you got picked and that's where we're at. We will survey that, we will verify that there is no lead there, and then we'll move on. If we're lucky enough and there is no lead, we don't find any lead in 381 of them that we dig up, and we finish. We send out the letter, everybody's cool, we move on. If we find one, we got to start all over again. Randomly generate another 381 and just keep doing it until we get to that point where we know there's no more lead. Okay? If we can't ratify and confirm that there is no lead, we have to send out this notice, which you should have gotten in the mail already. It's a 3-page notice. The first one tells you what's going on. There's a QR code on it. If you hit it, it'll take you to all the various data points that we have that you can check where you're at, what's going on, tips and what to do and what not to do. We've asked the public to help us. If you know what your house plumbing is made out of, let us know. Fill out the little form on there. If not, don't worry about it. The government has really forth a great effort to make sure that we find, if there is any lead, we get it out. In our business, Consolidated Waterworks is responsible for everything from the meter going back to the treatment plant. That's just the rules of the road. This time we're taking it a step further. We're going on the other side and going on your side of the meter to find out if there's any lead. And there's going to be a whole set of requirements and rules for us to follow if we find it. I don't know who's going to pay for it. I'm sure we will some way, shape, or form, and that's okay. But it's going to be taken care of, and they're going to get the lead out of the water this time. So the first hurdle to get over was to fill out the portal and put the inventory. We did that. The second hurdle, which had to be done within 30 days, which would be November the 15th, we've already done that. We've sent out in all the letters and the information that's going on. And then the third one is we've made the maps that show where everything is, what we found, what we didn't find, available to the public. It's shown on this slide as where to go. It's on the Q code. It's in the letter writing. You can do all of that. So for right now, we will begin afterwards, after we kind of get this part settled. And then we have to get LDH, Louisiana Department of Health, approval on our plan to check everything out and go from there. So I just wanted y'all, as well as the public, to know the water is safe. It remains safe. We do not believe that we have any lead pipes because the city and the parish was built at a time when lead was not prevalent. My predecessors have been removing lead pipes, like the solder around the old cast iron pipes. You back it and then you'd let it. All of those, when we come across them, we remove them right away. No problems at all. We've never found a lead service line in our inventory, actual digging, putting in, all that kind of stuff, and we're just using it. About 5 years ago, the state required testing in schools based on this same kind of statistical. Terrebonne Parish had one school, Berg Elementary, that was old enough that they thought might have lead in their service. We tested it, no lead. So this is a good program. It's something that hopefully will instill in people the ability to sleep safe at night, knowing that they don't have any lead in their water. And if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Ms. Chauvin?
Yes, I have a few of them. When you're talking about the coupon rack and you have a piece of metal in it, what type of metal is that?
It's all different kinds of metal. Some is steel, some is copper, some are just the things, because what we're trying to do is determine if the water is acidic. We take our water either from Bayou Lafourche or the Intracoastal Canal. Their normal pH is somewhere around 8.2. By the time we finish treating the water, it comes out to be about 6.5. So our main disinfectant is chlorine. Chlorine is acidic. Okay, so we knock it down. And so we try to get it back up to somewhere around 7, right at neutral. Usually it's about 6, 8, and we send it out. These coupons verify that we're not, people have galvanized pipes, they can corrode. People have copper pipes, they can corrode. PVC is a little different, PEX is a little different, but primarily those other two they do. We don't want your house flooding because all your pipes got holes in them. That's why we do this, and it also gives us more data to verify that the water is safe and what's exactly in it.
Okay, so you talked about digging up 381 lines in Terrebonne Parish, throughout Terrebonne Parish.
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so will there be something going out to let the 381 people?
I'm sure there will be, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Will they be able to follow it on social media like your Facebook?
Sure.
Because I just seen on Facebook like where you have all this
Sure.
up for people.
The
and
first
just-
post will be there. We wanted
Get
to
it.
come to you first
Right.
to let you know what was going on. But the first post on Facebook
Oh,
will be
no.
tomorrow morning.
My husband took it up because I've been doing nothing but council work, and he had it, and he
Yeah.
said, "What is this about?"
Right,
I'm like, "Not
right.
sure yet." You know,
So I'll share with you the importance of getting the right information out. We have our own lab where we do all kind of bacterial testing and everything, and they're also our water quality people. We had a call from a customer who comment was, hey, my water smells like Lysol. Water tech goes out there to the house, knocks on the door, doesn't get an answer. He's got faucets outside. He's taking all kinds of samples and everything like that. Finally, the lady, happened to be a lady, came out, introduced himself. He goes in the house and he looks because he's taking a sample at the sink and he sees Lysol dishwasher for dishes. So he tests everything, doesn't have any problem. And he goes, you're probably smelling that because you're using that. Well, I know, and I got a letter from y'all, and I didn't really understand what it said. So I thought y'all must have changed something, and that's why I'm smelling.
Okay.
It happens.
No, I'm just wondering so that I can help to
Yes,
put
ma'am.
this out
That's
to,
it. And
my
please,
constituents.
anybody, you got a comment, there's some frequently asked answers and questions on the literature that we send out. Our phone numbers all over the place. We have emails that you can send us, call us. Let us help y'all.
So let me ask you, when you're digging up, it's not gonna stop any water flow or
No,
anything
ma'am.
of that?
Well,
Okay.
no.
No, I'm just making sure because I'm sure that's the first phone calls
No,
you're gonna
no.
get when you talk about digging up
No,
381 lines.
that's it. And we're going to be right there at that meter box because that's what the EPA wants to know. We
Okay.
know what's on our side. We want to verify our side, even though we have data to prove that. But more importantly, we want to find out what's on their side.
So people can do the scan and give you what their type of pipe is.
If they know, yes,
If
ma'am.
they know.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I have to tell you, we have had probably about 200 so far, people that have called in and given us information. We had one lady that actually said it was lead. Well, that got everybody's attention immediately.
Okay.
And so we went out there, and what she had was galvanized pipe.
Okay.
Okay. Galvanized, yes, has a very small percentage of lead in it. But lead, you can bend a lead pipe
Right.
with your hands. You don't have to be Superman. I
Okay.
mean,
Well, that
that's
tells
it.
me what I need to do
Yes, ma'am.
at my house. So
But
thank
if you do know what it is, we appreciate any help that we can get because that's less,
Yeah. We'll have to
better
go in-
information we have, the better choices we can
Okay.
engage.
And even on commercial properties too. I
Yes,
mean,
ma'am.
like
Oh,
we
yeah,
have the
every,
yeah, we have
everybody
ice
that's got a
houses.
water meter, any water meter that we put in, even if it doesn't have a meter in it now, we have to go verify.
Okay. No problem. Thank you so much. I
More than
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Chauvin. Mr. Babin?
Yeah, Mike, this is a mandate from the federal government.
Federal
Is it an unfunded mandate from the federal
Well,
government?
if you want to have a chance to get funds, you better do what they say.
Yeah, but no, I
But yes or no, it's,
So
and I think something's going to happen, Danny. I just don't know what it is because they haven't said what it's going to be.
And in terms, I know some of the questions we're gonna get asked. You come into my house and you digging up in the yard, you're gonna make it whole again.
Of
You know,
course.
that-
Of
That's
course.
exactly right. Exactly what you
Not,
do every other
Ms.
time.
Michelle I'm sure can testify to,
Sure,
we have
sure.
right of ways and servitudes to have that meter on their property.
Correct.
Okay, so we're not, we're not invading their privacy.
I got it.
Somebody, whether it be them or previous owners, gave us the right to be there.
Correct.
And that's what we're doing. But again, that's our customers. We want to treat them
Correct.
right and we want them to know what we're doing. We're not, no conspiracy theory or anything like
Sure.
that.
Well,
We're
I
just doing
mean,
what we're
from
trying
a
to
minimal
get.
cost standpoint, we feel certain that the 384 one you're gonna check is all that you're gonna have to do.
I feel very
That
confident
cost will
about
be
that.
minimal.
Yes, sir. And if not, you'll know about it and we'll take care of it. We'll take
Thank you,
care of
sir.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Ms. Sobear, thank you for coming, giving us that information. I've
Awesome.
already gotten a call, somebody wondering what it's all about, so, now we're better informed to let them know exactly what's happening, because when you say dig up, people really
it.
freak
Well,
out.
that's what I'm saying. So just want to try and get to y'all. Thank you
And,
very
and I
much.
would think if they know what's in there, like I know what's in mine.
Yeah,
it's
take
copper.
a second and just shoot us.
Yeah.
It's Q-coded.
So
or
I think
hit
that
the
would
link and
save,
give us the
that would save
information.
y'all a lot of work as
It
well.
would, it would.
So, again, thank you, Terry, for all what you guys are doing. I've always bragged on our water. We've always had good tasting, good safe water. I know this because I work on their system, on my end. So, with that,
Motion to go into 6:30 public hearing.
we have a motion to go into 6:30 public hearings by Mr. Pleasure, seconded by Mr. Harding. Members, vote your machine. Nine yeas, we're into 6:30 public hearings. Item A, an ordinance declaring a Generac generator without transfer switch from the Utilities Department having a value of $5,000 as surplus and authorizing said item to be disposed of by any legally approved methods. First call for public. Second call for public comment. Third and final call for public. We have a motion to close by Mr. Harding, second by Mr. Pledger. Members vote your machine. 9 yeas, 0 nays. We have a motion to adopt by Mr. Harding, second by Ms. Chauvin. Members vote your machines. Everybody voted? 9 yeas, 0 nays. The ordinance is adopted. Item B, an ordinance to amend the 2024 adopted operating budget and 5-year capital outlay budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. Number one, animal shelter, HVAC, $43,752. Number two, utility fund, $381,000. Number three, Houma Police Department, $3,458. Number four, Section 8 Housing Voucher Program, $674,181. Number five, Houma Police Department, $895. Number six, Brady Road Bridge Replacement, $375,000. Number seven, Bayou Terrebonne Clear Snag Project, $600,000. Number eight, American Rescue Plan, $2,854,058. Number nine, Emergency Preparedness Department, EMPG, $17,500. First call for public. Second call for public. Third and final call for public. Mr. Pledger?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a request to legal to find out if it is definitive or a definitive answer on if we can actually line items within when we're doing something like we're doing now, and just report back and let me know, because I did a little research, but it's kind of vague. Get different answers and asking different people, but if we can get an answer on that, I really would appreciate it for the future. Thanks.
Ms. Neal?
Yes, sir. If you'd like something in writing, I can certainly get that to you. In the meantime, if you have things that you want to share with me and I can run those things down, you can email them to me and I'll look those items up as well.
Thank you, ma'am. So we have a motion to close by Ms. Chauvin, second by Mr. Harding. Members vote your machines. 9-0. Motion to adopt, Mr. Babin. Second, Ms. Chauvin. Members vote your machines. Eight yeas, 1 nay. Ordinance is adopted. Item C, an ordinance to enact 19-223 of Chapter 19, Article 4 of the Terrebonne Parish Code of Ordinances to create the criminal offense of and establish penalties for public urination on public property and during public events in Terrebonne Parish. First call public. Second call public. Third and final call public. Motion to close by Mr. Babin. Who seconded it? Mr. Champagne. Members vote your machine. Nine yeas, 0 nays. Motion to adopt, Mr. Babin. Second, Mr. Champagne. Members vote your machines. 9-0. Ordinance is adopted. Item D, an ordinance to authorize the parish president to execute on behalf of Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, TPCG, a lease of commercial space between TPCG and Terrebonne Children's Advocacy Center to lease space in the TPCG-owned building at 7910 Main Street, Houma, Louisiana, 70360. First call for public. Second call for public. Third and final call for public. I have a motion to close by Ms. Chauvin. Second by Mr. Babin. Members vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays. Motion to adopt, Ms. Chauvin. Second, Mr. Babin. Members vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays. The ordinance is adopted. Item E, an ordinance authorize parish president to enter into an amendment number 1 to the 1997 intergovernmental agreement lease and sublease with Recreation District number 11 to remove the adult softball complex from the agreement and return care, custody, and control of the adult softball complex to Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government. First call, public. Second call, public. Third and final call, public. Motion to close by Mr. Babin, second, Ms. Chauvin. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays. We have motion to adopt, Mr. Babin. Second, Ms. Chauvin. Mr. Harding.
Yes, I've been actually an advocate for, or actually, basically to be rather point blank with this. I think Rec 11, when they had this particular piece of property, which you look at here in 1997, it's going back to the parish under perhaps Mr. Jim Wendell and Quality of Life. Now, I'm going to make this statement going forward. All before it was a liability to Rec 11, and I'm actually hearing through the grapevine there's some extra money coming to the east side of town. So I want to make sure that, that the money coming from the east side, going to the east side of town, actually can be used now, because it had nothing was going to the east side of town with the adult softball complex since 1997 to actually assist the Rec 11 and through the Terrebonne Parish Recreation. So it's something I actually push for, and I'm happy that it's done. But when we going forward, we don't want to assess too much on some of the recreation districts that we actually have. Then all of a sudden some money coming out. I'm putting it out there. Not that this is the case, but then that's why I'm putting it out there to see that now that it's being turned over, the money's going to be put over there. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays. Ordinance is adopted. Item F, an ordinance to amend, rescind, and enact certain sections, Chapter 14, nuisance abatement of the Terrebonne Parish Code of Ordinances to provide for alternative methods of notice violations, to eliminate violations for excessive noises, to facilitate efficient processing of fees, to establish a protocol for canceling nuisance liens, to establish a warning period for nuisance actions, to stack violations for multiple offenses on one or more properties owned by similar owners, to standardize judicial review of violation proceedings, to prohibit persons in violation of the nuisance code from bidding on parish-owned, adjudicated, or surplus immovable property, and to provide for related matters. That was a mouthful. First call, public. Second call, public. Third and final call, public. We have a motion to close, Mr. Babin, second by Ms. Chauvin. Members, vote your machines. I see it. We're going to do it when we go to adopt. 9 yeas, 0 nays. We have a motion to adopt, Ms. Chauvin, second by Mr. Babin. Mr. Steve Charles Clare.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the under the last lined out item 6, they have I guess it's a description of antique vehicle. Means any motor vehicle which is 25 years or older has not been materially modified or altered from the original manufacturer specifications, being collected, preserved, restored, or operated, and so on. But I've been around car clubs and I actually had antique cars. A lot of these vehicles, the terminology is rat rods. They take these cars, they do materially alter them from their original state. So, I'd like to see this actually taken out of it, because because it's not restored to its original condition, it still registers as an antique, and they're roadworthy, they're insured just like any other vehicle.
Mr. Bradshaw?
Yeah, the only thing I could reference, and I'll get Chris to confirm, but I think that is related to the fact of automobiles being in yards or something like that? Is that, as that relates to that definition? And Chris, if you could verify that? Because I have an
Glasgow?
antique also, and I don't want anything to happen to it.
That's that's correct. I mean, I think there's some common sense that has to come into play. I mean, Parish President Bergeron restored a car with his father. I think we know what is a classic car, even a rat rod. Rat rods are my favorite in the parades. But
Right. Okay, but I know of an instance that happened in my district where, the yard was in a condition that, the grass was grown and they had some violations. But they included that car, or it was actually a truck. They included that truck in the violation and mandated to get it off the property. Okay, just cutting the grass around it wasn't enough. So, we need to, the way this is written here, well, nuisance abatement was within the parameters of what we tell them to do. But, it ended up getting settled, but it took a lot of back and forth. This guy was, he had some problems. He took care of a lot of problems, but then they kept telling me he had to get that truck off his property. We had to get rid of it. It was in his front yard, which, we got resolved, but at the end of the day, this kind of caught my eye when they said it can't be modified or altered.
Is that recent that happened? Like this year, or I'm just
No,
curious?
it was last year, a year or so ago. No,
So
it wasn't.
we've had different situations also, and again, that's part of why we're doing this, some of this cleanup and this, because there was some stuff I think is maybe interpretive, right? But I know when I've been able to get with Chris and say, hey, this person's reported this issue, I don't see a problem with you, and it ends up being worked out. So I've hoped that we've worked through some things in that department for that not to be an issue moving forward. So, I mean, if we can strike it or change it, or whatever we want to do.
Just
there are those.
because I'm gonna come back. If it happens, I doubt it'll happen again. But if it ever happen again, I'll make sure it gets taken care of again. But I mean, if we can eliminate from the beginning from people being harassed through nuisance abatement for something that it's a terminology that could be corrected before we put it out there, I'm good with that.
I mean, we could explore terminology with legal. I will say that, if you open up the door, then there's going to be people that abuse that door.
Well, I'm telling you.
Oh,
right
well,
here, it
yeah,
says it's not
that
materially
thing that's been sitting on
modified or
cinder blocks for
altered.
20 years.
That includes every rat rod out there. I promise you. Yeah. The way it's written right here. It can't be interpreted any way but that way. It's straightforward.
Ms. Neal?
If I can get the record of the incident that Mr. Trosclair is talking about, I can probably do some research and come up with some language to include in an ordinance in the future to help that situation. So I know you don't want to say it in.
I don't have that information with me now. I mean, that was.
You want to turn your mic
Yeah.
back on?
Let's track it down. Let's track it down and I'll look into it.
I'm glad somebody's getting some sleep. Tammy said she hadn't seen her house since when? Saturday. Mr. Harding?
Yeah, and to add on to what Mr. Trusclair is saying, some of these, this is actually requiring license plates and stuff like that. So I guess that's a whole new ballgame in reference to that. I know a number of people that actually have cars in their yard, and I was concerned because it had the right to go in someone's yard and tag them, and within a certain amount of time. So I had someone that was similar to that too, as we changed it. But I also, when we were discussing this, we're in a position now, who picks the cars up? If we had to get them towed, who tows them? There's several questions in my eyes.
Well, we don't have a contract, a standing contract that would have to be bid out each time, kind of like what we do for demolitions for condemnations.
Okay.
Not to say that we couldn't do that. We do that for grass cutting, right? So the contractor that the nuisance abatement uses for tall grass and junk and trash remedies is contracted out. You know, they do that, I think, every 2 to 3 years through purchasing. So we could look to do something similar for that.
Yeah, because my concern is that actually it says 30 days, right? So now well, when I was a fireman and have an accident, you know, we have the next wrecker up to come pull them out, all right, and bring them somewhere to a storage area. So now we actually, let's say, for instance, Mardi Gras time or some hurricane happens and stuff like that. Where are we going to store them? Who's going to actually cover the cost? After we do that, then the parish is responsible then to actually discard those cars, because I think was the 90 days at the most that we can actually have these cars in our possession.
I'm not familiar with those. I mean, who tows cars on public streets? Is that police or
I know if the
TPSO?
police gets involved, they have a rotating schedule of records that they work with. And we could definitely look at adding that if we wanted to. You know, I just want to kind of note that, you know, I've probably had a dozen of different kind of situations related to nuisance and abatement come to me. And this process has been involved working with Deanna and Camilla of, like, what do you guys need for better success? And really sitting down and having some conversations. I'm sure Chris may be tired of this, but going, you know, this is what they're hearing, or this is the letter they received, and kind of walking some people through the process of making sure that in some simple circumstances, just a phone call resolves some things. And so we're definitely trying to do everything on a case-by-case basis to make sure that our team has the information they need to make the best decision. You know, if somebody's working on trying to get a car repaired and you know, still has license plate and those kind of things on it, you know, again, it's when you look at kind of the good stuff for the bad. We have somebody that has 5 cars and they don't have license plates and they don't have anything like that. So, you know, we're definitely not looking to go after anybody, but we are trying to make sure that we put a little more teeth around what we're able to do and how much quicker we're able to respond, like just a part of just serving somebody. So, you know, as we work through this, I hope you don't get a call that says they just come and took my car, or they come and did this, right? We got a letter that goes out. We're hoping that there's open communication to make sure that the person that's receiving the letter fully understands everything they need to do and what you know, is it grass? Is it grass in a car? And just, you know, at a certain point also, you know, is there, and if I'm joking around with Connie about, hey, you know, maybe you could help us cut some grass for people that can't afford it, right? And so just really trying to make sure that our residents, that it's a combination of eliminating blight and also making sure they have all the information they need to be successful. So,
And my point also is the fact that, you know, we start collecting cars, and then what we do with the cars afterwards. You follow what I'm saying? We're creating more of an expense to us, you know what I mean, instead of just actually tagging them and how long we're going to have them. I don't know if she didn't get the answer, but I think it's about, it totals 90 days, I think, 30 days. They have to move it, and then 90 days that's actually go through the process before we actually become owners of the cars. So once they become owners of the cars, then, you know, they might want us to keep it because they didn't want to, you know, bring it to the scrapyard. So we're going to be we're creating another business for ourselves. So,
Yes, sir, Mr. Harding, I do have an answer for you on that.
okay.
So there was a provision that is actually it's in existence right now. All we did in this ordinance was move it from the definition of junked vehicles into the actual enforcement area. So it used to be located under section 1426 under the definition of abandoned vehicle. And if you go down to the paragraph that's now deleted, old paragraph number 5, I moved that entire paragraph over to section 14186 under the enforcement provisions for junked, abandoned, and inoperative vehicles. And so that's, I'm sorry, section 14187. It's a long ordinance.
It would be much easier if you do page 3 of 15 or page 2.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's on page 7 of 15 on your ordinance and your backup.
Okay.
So, in existence right now, but in this ordinance, we're just moving it to the proper location. when the parish moves a vehicle that's been abandoned, it can bring it to a storage area owned by TPCG. And then Terrebonne Parish has got to make a reasonable attempt to serve the owner with a notice of where the vehicle is stored. Failure to receive the notice is not a defense by the owner. And then after 30 days, when the owner has not claimed the vehicle or paid for the cost of the removal and storage, then it's declared abandoned by its owner, and TPCG can dispose of it as its owner. So that's the answer to the question of how long do we keep it and how do we get rid of it.
Yeah, and like we do in houses, so we can't recover all of the expenses because there's no provision in there that said we can go back, even though we actually take the car. There's no provision for us to recover the money, isn't it?
We would surplus it and sell it.
I can go
Similar
with
to what, I guess similar to what the towing companies do right now. When, if they have a vehicle for so many days and nobody claims it, they sell it.
that. Yeah. Whosoever will, let them come take it, and cut down on the expenses. Yes, a couple things. You know, nothing against it. It's just the fact that we just recently, yesterday, had some hearings, and to put it rather simple, how does it affect the overall picture? You know what I mean? To just cut it off. I got a lot of little notes here. You know what I mean? So, in short, the changes that were made. I think I had something here in particular that we can actually look at. It's going to be section 14-316A. And once I get it, and I'm gonna tell y'all which page of 15 it is. Okay, page 13 of 15. It's a judicial review. The written decision of the nuisance administration hearing also shall be the final decision by the parish. By final decision by the parish, does that affect what we do so far as individual council members can actually go and make an assessment of it, and then it's not really the final review of, I guess the decision be the parish, because we go on and we're dealing with the 32nd Judicial Court, okay? And section B says, at the end of it, it says, administration hearing subject to overhearing.
Yes, sir. So this is, this section doesn't affect anything that the parish council does, or it doesn't affect anything that the nuisance abatement department does before we get a decision on a nuisance abatement violation. And so all this section does is put a stop to an endless appeal or an endless judicial review in the court system. So everything that happens before a person could take its nuisance abatement violation to the court happens administratively. If that person is not satisfied with the administrative decision, then that person can take what's called a judicial review. And I did change the language from the Civil District Court of the Parish of Terrebonne. It's actually called the 32nd Judicial District Court. So I wanted to make that clarification by the change in Part A in there, and also that the first change in Part B, I changed it from Terrebonne Parish Civil District Court to the 32nd JDC, just because it's the more formal use of the court that's there. And then I did add at the end, you know, the decision of the 32nd JDC, and it serves as kind of an appeal, but it's referred to as a judicial review. And what happens in that situation is a judge from the 32nd JDC will get allotted if the violation, if the person who has been charged with the violation brings it up for judicial review, the court will take the whole case, review everything that's happened, possibly open the case up for additional testimony at the time, and then they will make a determination on whether or not the violation was warranted or was not warranted. And so they will either sustain the violation or they will overrule the violation. But everything that happens before it gets to that court doesn't change. By this revision doesn't change that process.
So my concern really is the fact that as long as we have the opportunity for nuisance abatement, and whether it be tall grass or whatever ordinance that we actually have, I want to make sure that the heart is in the process. Is the fact that we don't want to have everything in etched in stone, where really it can be rather confusing to certain people of educational levels.
Yes, sir.
And so we want to actually make sure that we up here can actually give some type of assistance. And to be honest with you, I don't want to lose that opportunity to represent the people.
Yes, sir. No, the judicial review is a last resort. It's for somebody who's gone through the whole process and still doesn't agree that the violation should be there. And they get to go to the judges at the 32nd for them to make the final ruling.
I'm good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Babin.
Yeah, we talk about cleaning up the parish. We talk about derelict vessels in the water. We talk about cars in the yards. It just seems to be getting worse. So evidently what we have been doing is not working. And administration is trying to put something forth that they feel that they have control over. The only control we have over any of this, and we counsel people, we get the calls, is to enact the legislation. And then administration has to fulfill the obligation of administering it, okay? So again, if we have more trash now than we had before, something was not working well. I think we need to move forward with a new idea. If it doesn't work, I think then we'll be able to tweak it down the line. But I think the departments that we have are going to use their heart to determine it. And if we've only had a few isolated cases, being a few isolated cases, that's still important. It's not a major problem. I don't see that this legislation is going to create any major problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Mr. Harding.
Yeah, to actually in defense of my position on here, because I'm an elected official, and I'm actually taking a process because we don't have nobody from the public to come over here, and then later on down the line, someone gonna ask me the question. I'm in favor of cleaning up the parish. I'm definitely in favor of it. I'm also in favor of being fair, and as we're going forward, I'm gonna represent the people. And there's two forms of government here, administrative and legislative. We're going to both work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Pledger.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I can really appreciate the robust conversation that we're having here. And I'll just add my, my thoughts on it. And specifically, I mean, there's been several areas of this ordinance that have been discussed, but I'd like to just kind of make a comment in regards to the section of this ordinance that I feel that it's targeting in a sense, because it says that people are going to can be barred or can't take part in buying adjudicated properties. Clearly, we know if most folks are on the adjudicate or their property is being, they have a nuisance violation, citation, or if they're fall under a condemnation order, more than likely, I would say those folks aren't trying to buy property, okay? And that's where it comes into play, my thought of it being targeted. I can tell you probably, and most people who participate in the purchasing the adjudicated properties know who we're talking about when it comes to that. So that's kind of, I would say it's a bit unfair just in my eyesight or in my review of it. But then again, like Mr. Babin says, we want the parish cleaned up, and I get that. I want that too as well, but that's a bit extreme on my part for me to read that as such. And that's my thoughts on it, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Pledger. Mr. Trosclair.
Yeah, just to reply to Mr. Babin's comments. Every call I get is a major call, a major event. Every call I get. to that person that's calling me. So if I can change terminology to eliminate one call, that's a major event to me. Thank you.
Mr. Champagne.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Mr. Pledger, is that I'm glad we're having this conversation. I'd rather get the ordinance right on the front end and get it correct as good as we can have it, and to go forward, so there isn't those, gray areas that we all come across. The other thing is, who, on, as far as like the what he was talking about, the people on the list that are on condemnation list not doing that, who's going to monitor that? Like, do we have a process in place that currently that's monitoring who's on the list and allowing that? Like, or are we putting this in and we're going to figure it out later?
This is gonna, yes, sir, this is gonna require communication between the department that handles the surplus property and the adjudicated property sales, which is in Sharon Ellis's department, and also Dion Stewart and Chris's department. So a list is gonna be made in Chris's department to send over to Miss Ellis's department to give her a heads up on people that we know, I guess. I think there are.
Well, we're already sending over to purchasing as soon as possible. I mean, we changed our internal procedures, like the order to appear letters. We've started to record those in the courthouse much sooner than ever been done before, so that those folks who are interested in purchasing properties at tax sale, which always happens in June, which coincides with our July condemnation hearings, we're trying to get those instances eliminated so that come August or September, when we start getting calls about, well, I didn't know this property was on the condemnation list, yada, yada. We've already, by recording that order to appear letter, it eliminates that, or at least it gives us the ability to say, well, you need to do your due diligence. So when that person is doing that, when they go to the courthouse to check the records, they see it. So they're made aware.
Placeholder. It's a placeholder
Correct.
for the public record.
And so we'll just keep doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Champagne. Ms. Chauvin.
Yes, I'm not sure if you remember, but when we first came on, when I first came on, there was a condemnation hearing, and then we had the adjudicated property, and I'm watching, and I made mention in one of the meetings that we're allowing people who have condemnation violations to buy property and continue on with a whole nother condemnation list, and it was blocking up within nuisance abatement. And I watched this as we had some developers that were doing it, or I would say, I use the term loosely as developers, but may have been a company or such that came in and was buying properties, but they had already had condemnation violations. So are we going to keep on bogging down nuisance abatement? I literally want to clean up District 8. And I will tell you, like last night, one of the things, and it's a guy who, he comes in and he buys property, and then he was leaving it as such. And when I called him about that specific property, and he said, well, I'm just going to sell it. But he was leaving it in the same manner that he purchased it at with the tax part. Then he comes in and buys a property in Chauvin. Same property that we've been trying to get rid of for probably 2 decades. And it's taken us this long that it finally reached last night, that we can finally have it condemned. I definitely want this in District 8 because I'm looking to clean up. I do want to clean our parish. I'm not targeting any one specific person, but I am targeting those who have condemnation violations and want to come in and buy through the tax sale or the property taxes, however that's working for them. Because I don't want to keep going do this. I spent like months going in doing the condemnations, the derelict housing, the abandoned cars, the all the other things that are in nuisance abatement, because I want our section, because I do it in my own district, to look good. So it wasn't targeting anybody per se, other than those with condemnation violations already. And that is it. That was the whole reason for it. That was a conversation that I had with Jason. And I'm like, we got to do something, because I was frustrated at the bog down in nuisance abatement. We went in for meetings, we discussed those things, and he told me where the breakdown was. So if that's a breakdown, then let's fix the breakdown. And that was really it. That was the whole ball of wax about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chauvin. Mr. Harding.
So finally, I think we got a conversation. So if you look at last night, and speaking straightforward, you can pull the records up. I can say District 2 and perhaps District 1 had more nuisance abatement and demolitions to be done in there. Okay, so therefore, it becomes a conversation of wealth. Those that could afford, those who cannot afford, I want those pieces of property to be gone, because they blighted in my neighborhood. I don't want my neighborhood to be looking no different from nobody else's neighborhood. Therefore, I am for it. Listen to the words come out of my mouth. I am for it. But then being fair about it, because I can actually, honestly, I'm not going to call no names here. I know a person that has 2 pieces of property that we actually push it down the road, that some of my colleagues may have known him. I've actually worked with this guy, and I went to another meeting. Now he has a contract to make money with the parish. Now, I've actually made mention of that too. So if you are in that position right there, you should not be making no money in Terrebonne Parish either.
I agree.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir, Mr. Harding. So
Yeah.
Chris Pulaski and I had this discussion, and a lot of the contractors who do have work with the parish have a provision in their contract. It's a standard provision that they have to abide by all of the laws and local ordinances in the parish. And there's also a provision in certain contracts, especially for those doing cleanup work and condemnation work, that they have to properly dispose of any junk that they pull off of those properties. And so I think that there's a way internally through those contracts that we can enforce that we don't sell those any more surplus or any more, adjudicated property to those contractors.
I mean, we're talking about 14.322. Page, let's see, page 14 of 15, right? So violators prohibited from acquiring movable property declared surplus. That's what Ms. Kim was talking about. So if you've got a property that's been condemned, you cannot purchase immovable property declared surplus by the parish until you get those condemned properties remedied. And what Michelle was just talking about is debarment is the term. So
Correct.
yes, if you
Thank you.
have
Didn't think of the word.
if you have a contract with the parish to say demolish a structure, when you take the materials and clear that property, you're properly disposing of those materials. You're not taking it to, some other piece of property that you might own just to save yourself a few dollars from not having to pay the landfill bill.
Well, my point I'm trying to make here, and this is just only hypothetical, not to say, look, if you're a lawyer and you own property that's dilapidated throughout Terrebonne Parish, you shouldn't be doing no business with Terrebonne Parish either, because you're on a list. Because we're going to give you, on one hand, an opportunity actually to have rundown stuff, being a slumlord in Terrebonne Parish, with some people on Section 8 that can't afford to move, but you're going to do business with Terrebonne Parish, and your name is on that particular list. I don't think they should be making money in Terrebonne Parish either, because they're making enough money off the poor people.
That's the debarment part.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Neal.
Mr. Harding, if you have some particular instances,
I do.
come and visit me at my office. Come and visit me at my office, and we'll look into those in particular. Yes, sir.
You good, Mr. Harding?
Yeah, I'm good now.
All right, Ms. Chauvin.
So I will tell you, I'm jealous that you and Brian's you had the most condemnations, because I took so many months of going around in District 8 And I'm happy for you too, because I want your district to look good too, because it behooves all of us to have a very good looking parish for our citizens and for us. But one of the things, and Noah can tell you this, I was so frustrated and aggravated with the MGO Connect app because I literally spent 2 months of my time going around District 8, and I have probably half that I went for an update with Camilla, and it's nowhere in nuisance abatement. So I'm frustrated with that process. So just so you know, I am jealous that you have more stuff being cleaned up because I would like to have that same cleanup. And this is not about um having one more than the other, but in that it's just the app was not working. Otherwise I would, hopefully have more, in the condemnation hearings, and it's frustrating to me. But I do want you to know that it was one of the issues. It's not that I don't have them. I actually have a lot in that district, and it's not about wealth in my district either, but it is about cleaning up. But the app is my frustration on that part. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chauvin. Mr. Pledger?
I'll just leave with or finish up with this example, just to put it in layman terms so someone can really understand, some of the viewing public or maybe the folks sitting here in the audience. What we're talking about here is if you're on the adjudicated or on the condemnation list, for instance, if I bought a piece of adjudicated property, my wife and I, this is a clear example, my wife and I's name is on the tax assessor's roll for owning this property. Me and my wife got a divorce. I left, she kept the property. Now I can't buy any more property. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pledger. Mr. Wazam?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Pulaski, are you familiar at all with Brandon Drive? It's a little horseshoe street behind the mall. I submitted it like 2 or 3 times with some abandoned vehicles in the driveway. Your staff informed me that it didn't meet the criteria. My question would have been, if you was familiar with it, is if this new ordinance would meet the criteria for those type of vehicles. But if you're not familiar with that, I guess you can't.
I'm not familiar with that particular instance, but
Yes,
I
sir.
can certainly check with you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wazam. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Members, vote your machines. Eight yeas, 1 nay. Ordinance is adopted. Item G, an ordinance to amend Article 5, Chapter 21 of the Terrebonne Parish Code, Section 21-87, to add provisions for removal of Recreation District Board members, to amend Sections 21-93 and 21-94 to require the repair of unsafe equipment or premises, to require compliance with the Policies and Procedures Manual, and to authorize TPCG to take certain action if the Recreation District fails to act, to adopt Section 21-99 to create the Recreation Advisory Committee, and to amend Section 21-97 to establish deadlines for the adoption of district and comprehensive master plans, and provide for other matters relative, other matters. First call for public. Second call for public. Third and final call for public. Motion to close by Mr. Harding, second by Ms. Chauvin. Members, vote your machines. Has everybody voted? 8 yeas, 1 nay. Motion to adopt, Mr. Babin, second Ms. Chauvin. Mr. Harding.
I'm gonna raise my hand for one talking a lot today. I've always been against the fact that when you look at Section 2, it says removal of Recreation District Board members, investigations and complaints. The Terrebonne Parish Council may remove any Recreation District Board member with or without cause, any council member may initiate such removal. I would like to actually have the basics here that applies for members of these particular recreation districts. If you miss 3 consecutive meetings, you resign, you're termed out, you are convicted of a felony, then you can be removed off this board. I do not also agree with, and this is from an opportunity I had to happen to me previously, and I can speak upon it now. That was a council member, not in this particular area, that had a problem with an individual member of a recreation district during the time this particular recreation district was under oversight. And this is not a lie, because I am on the mic. This fellow wanted this gentleman to be removed from this particular board because they had a difference. And he would vote against that particular recreation district being off oversight. So when that actually happened, this council member did not have any dealings no more than as a representative of Terrebonne Parish Recreation District. He didn't have any pieces of property of that particular recreation district in his district. So I don't feel as if that if a person don't have no interest whatsoever, have not been to one of those meetings, can walk into any meeting and actually charge a individual member of that particular board up. I think it's the responsibility of the board, number one, set those small guidelines. You missed 3 consecutive meetings. You actually resign. You're actually convicted of a felon. Your term is up. That's a start. I don't like the fact that said, well, for no reason at all. That means because I'm taller than John, he's chairman, and I'm the tall guy, and I'm vice chairman of this council. Then it actually it doesn't allow us for fairness. So therefore, we let small guidelines, and I think we sometimes, and this we putting the cart before the horse, because that you want to create a board. Now, with that board, you're also saying that you want to have the capital outlays of these people by a certain time. So I think that this board that you're going to actually design, which is similar to what the parish president of the previous administration already had, but they did not do their job because they met and they had no teeth in it. So this actually puts some more teeth in it, and I think they should police themselves. We already have a manual for these people, these districts to actually follow. So it would take less work off us, and then it'd be like, let's say, for instance, planning and zoning. They have their own meetings. They have their own meetings, and then what is final comes to us. I don't want like recollection not paying their bills or something happening in another recreation district that came up here. We don't need that here. We got all these recreation districts, and they got a recreation advisory board. Let them take care of that and get us out their business. I may want to say something to somebody else.
Mr. Badron?
If I'm not mistaken, you're talking about in 2187, section D1, which is Terrebonne Council may remove or any recreation district board member with or without cause, and a council member may initiate such removal. Based on the conversations we've had in the past about, really what I look at is there's no complaint system in place and trying to facilitate that. As I understand it, being able to remove anybody with or without cause has been there, and I'm, not understanding we're changing a whole lot with that, but definitely the bigger opportunity to handle complaints and removal. And I know you mentioned a couple times about like how many meetings you're attending. The change thing that was added in here was based on the fact of the presidents being the members of this board, and if they miss meetings, is the only thing that I understand was referenced when it comes to actually based on attendance and those kind of things. So I just want to make sure we're clear on that conversation.
Which brings another point, but I'm glad we're in a conversation, is the fact that then let's say, for instance, some of these boards have 7 people on it. Let's say they have 7 people on it. So you want to take the responsibility or actually penalize this particular recreation district because actually I was involved with a recreation district, and my advice to them is that to take the burdens off one person not showing up to represent in that advisory board committee, the parish-wide deal. It's the responsibility of all of them. So they actually kind of, each one took a month. So the way it is in here right now, you're gonna penalize the whole board for not showing up at the meeting. So you can't penalize the whole board for not showing up at a meeting. So I think in policing themselves, because there are more than one member on that particular board, you can't hold the whole board responsible. I guess that's where I was looking at.
So, I looked at the fact that the recreation board's going to elect its president or chair. And from there, with that person being elected in that position, that would automatically qualify them to participate on this board. And I think going back to the fact that we're adding teeth to it, I think in that level of position, I think that's important that person does participate, with the fact that the board as a whole has selected this person. And again, to have that person attend these meetings, having them once a month, really, what I really hope through this whole process is that, we have some recreation districts that have senior lunches. We have some recreation districts that have other opportunities that not all our recreation districts are affording, that they could work off each other to help each other, figure out the weaknesses and opportunities to really work together as a cohesive team. And so that was really the driving factor with all this, and saying that, if you're president of the board, you'll be involved at a higher level to make sure that all our recreation districts have equal amount of success. So definitely not trying to punish, but really just make sure, hey, you're the person your board selected as a representative to lead that board. Let's take that person and put them on a higher level board to work on recreation, especially when it comes to the master plan and making sure that, again, I think we might miss some opportunities by not doing this if we're building a building on this side of the line and another building on the other side of the line. That master plan allows that opportunity to say, hey, let's look at this as a whole and figure out where the gaps are and where we can fill those gaps with resources. Where I know we still have some rec districts that don't have swimming pools, right? And I know Rec 9's pool was just wore out with everybody else going to that pool. So an end game is to make sure that we unite, we work together, and we help all the recreation districts achieve. And I talk about the quality of life, no matter where you live, no matter how old you are, is the end game with this.
I'm glad we're having a conversation. Nothing. So my point is the fact, again, you're obligating one person when it's the responsibility of the whole board. I can understand if that particular, let's say for instance, Rec 11, and they have, let's say for instance, the parish-wide, they have 10 meetings. If Rec 11 does not attend those meetings, because if the president goes there, and then I hold everybody accountable. Number one, if I'm the president, I'm going to attend there. But then I would like to actually have a representation of someone in that board to bring the information back. Then we obligate it, because also when we have the advisory board, it states that we have to have a representative from the council. Also, so what I'm trying to do, we have nine recreation districts. They know about the nuances in reference to recreation. I feel as if they should police themselves and get us out of their business. Now, if there is a problem when we have to come in and have that executive session by the individual that's very irate, obnoxious, or doing something, hellacious, then we can actually take care of that person, and that's when we actually be involved. I think they should be able to help themselves, because they don't have, let's say, for instance, Rec 8, they don't have the opportunity or the funds, the resources, or the personnel to actually deal with the computer system that we're trying to, through our manual, place upon them. They don't have the money for it. I don't want to mention a couple other districts. They make less than $100,000, $180,000 a year. They can't afford some of these other things, so they need the assistance from the other recreation districts. And we can't implement certain laws and expect them to succeed when they can't concede, because they don't have the ability to do so. And I'm perfectly willing to work with that, but I just can't say that we get that much involved. I think it's a plus to have the advisory board, but less of our hands on there. I want people to be successful just like you are, and then we don't intervene and let them handle their own business.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Pledger?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. What I'm most fearful of in this instance here, one, we're on another topic and there's patterns going on, but what I'm more fearful of is the fact that we're imposing pretty stringent requirements on them, which, I mean, and when I say that very loosely because we have to, if we're putting rules in place or we're expecting certain goals to be met, things to be achieved by the rec boards, I think we need to first step back and look at our audience, who we're talking to, the rec districts. I get it. Now, my time in office, I've been to quite a number of rec district meetings, and it's a certain makeup at all these rec districts, all of them, right? And if I mention, to be honest, if you mention capital outlay plan, comprehensive master plans, they don't even know what half of that is. I think it's better if we, hand out to help them first. But we're going in, there's rod and the carrot. You're going in with the carrot in your hand, but you got a rod behind your back because you've already made the goals that you want them to achieve unattainable. Let's teach them first. Let's show them. Let's embrace our rec districts. We don't want to come in just, we expect this, and this. Well, okay, they've been accustomed to doing it a certain way for so long. How do we help them? Well, when we send this out to them and say, hey, you need your comprehensive master plan into us by this date, they're going to look over to the next person at the board and be like, man, what do they mean by that? You don't have it in. So now we have a thing where they're going to run away. And the same people that I'm saying that make up these boards, they're going to just walk away from it. Then who we're going to get? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pledger. Mr. Champagne?
Yeah, so I want to just rebut that a little bit. Each board has an attorney and a accountant who can support them in that getting those things together.
Thank you, Mr. Champagne. Mr. Bergeron?
I just want to clarify, you mentioned a pattern. And so the pattern that I'm definitely trying to do in my administration is accountability. And every ordinance that we've been bringing up is related to solving an issue that we have been dealing with in a recreation perspective for a long period of time. And so my understanding is that they've always had to do these capital outlay plans, and we've approved as a council a policy manual that I understand possibly isn't even being followed still, which in turn doesn't allow for those rec districts to maybe have some of the success and to efficiently spend the money as they maybe could. And so again, my point of this whole deal is, there's no complaint system in place. We have an advisory board that was meeting and wasn't really able to do anything. They basically go to the end of the chain and bark. And so all we're trying to do is set people up for success. And my team's heard us 1,000 times so that we can then hold them accountable. And, I get it that, people talk about change, but when it really comes down to change, usually buck it more than they accept it. And so I believe the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And I just feel like from the conversations that I've had with the rec districts and the inequality of the fact that, again, you have, 2 or 3 districts that have a dinner for seniors and the rest don't. And then in town halls that I've been meeting with all these, with all our residents throughout the parish, where the recreation districts show up and they're actually answering questions for the residents in the town hall and talking about how, how do we work together as a community and make sure that the areas that don't have senior lunches maybe have something a little more often or have something that they don't have now versus the fact that their senior lunches are only through rec districts. And so, again, just trying to make sure no matter where you live and no matter how old you are, you have equal opportunities to quality of life. And again, if everybody up here would say that our rec districts are perfect and do not need any help or changes or anything else, then I would say, let's leave the status quo in place and not make any changes. But to have an opportunity to, again, set up these districts for success and have them work together and have teeth that themselves can help each other be more successful. Man, I'm telling you, I just don't see how this is a lose opportunity at all, and that we have just an opportunity to move the parish forward even more with all these things that we're doing at the ordinance level. Thank you.
Mr. Lerat?
I'd like to speak a little bit about these master plans because I can tell you from my time on Rec 11, when I found out we were required to put together a master plan, it was a little overwhelming when you hear that word. But I found out very quickly that by reaching out, communicating with other rec districts and with Candace as well, before I knew her, that they were more than willing to help and show me other plans and show me what they've done. So I like that we're building in some cooperation and some forethought with this ordinance. I think it's critical. I think we do have a lack of communication between our rec districts, and this will help with that. And things can be scary, but again, you need a plan going forward, and you need to put some thought into it, even if it's a volunteer position. So I think that needs to stay. I think it's important, and I think that our rec districts can do it.
Thank you, Mr. Lerat. Mr. Harding?
And I like that because we work good together, and I'm for it. I'm really for it. And Mr. Champagne, you're absolutely correct. Rec 11 had an attorney and an accountant, and still were put on oversight. So it's not necessarily that situation. It's the fact that get some assistance. I remember when 3A had something to help out Rec 11 after the Hurricane Ida. It was only a phone call. So we just need to do more than that. All I'm saying is let these people actually, because Rec 11 get 1.4. I think second highs are the 1.4 per year. There's several groups that making 1.4 and 1.3 and $900,000 a year to actually do that. But then again, you got another recreation district that's $180,000 a year. One that's actually struggling down in the Gibson area, which I represent a portion of that. They don't have any revenue either. So that's the point. I'm not. There's been several attempts to consolidate. That's the quote unquote word. I just want to take care of the people of Terrebonne Parish. I know the manual went in one aspect. We've actually changed from recreation to the quality of life, which changed the heading, we changed the wording, we changed the opportunities. And hopefully there'll be a better thing that we can actually do. But I like the fact that, you have the experience in that. And you can actually help him what I'm talking about. Because, I just don't want us to actually stick our nose into somebody else's business they don't know what they're talking about. That's all I'm just saying. Let them police themselves and help them out.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Pledger?
I'll share this as well. And a lot of people, a lot of folks, I want everybody to really understand, the viewing audience and also folks that might be here. But we're mentioning rec districts, but at the same time, we're also hearing just Rec 11. We're not hearing about, there's 1, 2, 3, there's all different types of rec districts or different numbers, right? But Rec 11 has been, from what I understand, probably the most involved rec district. I'll put it like that to be nice about it. But with that rec district sits in my district. So to kind of give, and this is to allude to the parish president, what he said a minute ago. So what I did when I got into office, I started going to rec district meetings, Rec 11 specifically, and I was bringing information to them. I was bringing ideas to them, change, because that's what we're talking about. We're wanting to change, yes. And showing them, involving them in creative ways to be able to grow as a rec district, to not have that shining light on you as the one that stepchild who's just always, you always have to talk to them, okay? Now, I was doing that. It was going great. They were really excited about it. They were really motivated about it, and it was change that they were starting to get accustomed to with me working with them. But then, because they have been that spotlight rec district for so long, we came along and we took away so many of their properties, quite a few of their properties, to make it better because they had safety violations, safety hazards, or whatever the reasoning was there. But at the same time, we still have to, even though we impose the ordinances and we have these wants or requirements on them, we have to have something that, that we're going to help them, to show them. We don't want to just, say, here it is, go figure it out with their lawyers, with their secretaries. We want to be out there. We want to give them a hand up. Let's get out there and we should be helping them, administration and also us as council persons.
Thank you, Mr. Pleasure. Ms. Chauvin?
Yeah, so I think this came about when we did the modernization of the Recreation Advisory Board, and I did sit on that board, and I remember the exact reason that we put this advisory part together, and that was really to come together as recreational districts to have purchasing power where we weren't overspending on the same type of equipment, where we could purchase, maybe through the state or different ideas that others may have had. It also came up to where, when you're talking about capital outlay and master plans, that you had some people that had already done these things and that they would be of help to maybe those that were new to certain recreation districts or became a new chairman or something like that. So this is only, in my eyes, what I see it as, is to help those districts to be better at what they do, especially on the purchasing power thing, because each district is buying off stuff and they can come together and actually work together, and maybe if they're doing the same type of equipment, work together to get a better deal. So I've seen it as such, and I know Mr. Pledger mentioned, the properties that we took away, but those properties were within the parish beforehand. Is that correct? Every one that was put in there to take, and we were already cutting the grass and taking care of that part of it. So that really was meant to help that certain district. And listen, if I had that in a different district, I would want the same thing, because I think that it was kind of dumped on them, and that was unfair at that point, is how I looked at it on that advisory board. I want to see all of the rec districts do well, because that's all of our kids and all the adults. Most of our kids and grandkids are playing at these parks. I want to see things flourish in that manner. But I remember this being like a big deal on that recreation board, and that we were all, I think that was a unanimous thing that we all came together on, that they would all work together to make better rec districts. So that's how I took it. How I seen it, and when we were talking about it, that's how it came back about. And that's really all that I wanted to add to it.
Thank you, Ms. Chauvin. Mr. Pleasure?
I'm good.
All right. Seeing no more discussion, we have a motion and a second. Members, vote your machines. Seven yeas, 2 nays. Ordinance is adopted. Item H, an ordinance to restructure Chapter 12 of the Terrebonne Parish Code and to enact regulations for the construction of borrow pits, ponds, and dirt mounds, and to provide for related matters. First call, public. Second call, public. Third and final call, public. A motion to close by Mr. Babin. Second by Mr. Champagne. Members, vote your machines. Nine yeas, 0 nays. Motion to adopt, Mr. Babin.
Second.
Second, Mr. Hamner. Ms. Chauvin, you want to speak before the vote?
Yes, I do. One of the things that, and I'm going forward with this, so just know, but we had a conversation, and one of the things that we're having a problem with is when I talked to Mr. David Rome, was that the heavyweight trucks have a permit that they're supposed to get, and it costs nothing. But, and I guess that's to maintain how many of them we have on our roads and where they're going. I'm not quite sure of that, because I was trying to gather that information. I know on Bayou Drive, I'm looking at, and they're supposed to have a bond, and that's within their contract with the levy board. The problem is that they're not obtaining those permits. I have a minefield on Bayou Drive, and there is not enough money to fix these roads. And it's unfair to the constituents that actually live in that area, because I actually took my small car and drove down that road. I don't want to drive it again. It's a minefield. And so I sent in to Mr. Rome from 5306 on Bayou Drive, and believe me, there's some more up the Bayou side, but this is way further down than where I'm living at. But when you go down it, they call it the patchwork road, because it's that bad. And now we have big, huge potholes. And I understand that there's a balance, that we need the levees, that the trucks are definitely needed to bring, to get the mud, to bring the mud wherever they're going with it. But there has to be a time when we look at this and say, it's time to fix the road. And from what I'm told on the other side of it is that they're waiting for them to stop. I mean, let's be honest here. They're never stopping, because that levee has to continue to be built up. So we can't, I don't want to keep punishing the people who live in that area. I would like the road to be fixed. And so in this, I know that's one of the things that was left out of it at this point. And I probably didn't get that information into you at that time. So, well, that part. But you did say that you would bring it back, and we would come back to this and add that. And is it going double? Yes, it is. But I want to make sure, because it's not being done on the other side of it. And it's unfair to the people who live in that area to be driving through a minefield on this part. And it's not just our parish roads, it's some of our state roads too. But if that's what we're going to do, then we need to have it set in the parish too. That's all. I'm for it. I just want to make that known on that part.
Thank you, Ms. Chauvin. Mr. Babin?
Yeah, Kim, I happen to agree with you. I mean, probably you and Steve and I experience this more because the levees are being built in our areas and the trucks are doing it. I will commend this administration, and Kim, you were involved in that meeting when we met with the levee board back in probably March or April, and worked out some things with them, because I have a very similar situation on Brady Road. But after that conversation, in the next contract that came up, this administration made sure that in the cooperative endeavor agreement, there was money to repair that road from the levee board after. I think that's some of this stuff they inherited, okay? But I think they're working towards it. I know, because I've worked with the levee board a good bit, and we've had a lot of conversations, Jason and Noah and I, about this. So I think we're moving very much in the right direction by when we sign in these cooperative endeavor agreements, we're covering the parish better than we've ever done before. Now, the one you have may have started prior to, all right? But I can only speak to the Brady Road one, and that one is going to work out. That should be finished hopefully by next week, and then the levee board will start repairing the road. So, again, I think they're taking some steps in that direction, which is good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays. Ordinance is adopted. Item I, the proposed 2025 parish budget and 5-year capital outlay budget. First call public. Second call public. Third and final call public. We're going to motion to continue. So I have a motion to continue public hearings to the November 6, 2024 meeting by Mr. Babin, seconded by Mr. Champagne. Members, vote your machines. Has everybody voted? 9 yeas, 0 nays. Ordinance is adopted. Have a motion to go back in the regular order by Mr. Harding. Second, Mr. Pleasure. Members, vote your machines. We don't have enough static electricity in our fingers. Just roll with it. All right. So we're going back to General business, item C. Resolution concurring with a resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in March 2025 in the Bayou Blue Fire Protection District of the parishes of Terrebonne and Lafourche, state of Louisiana, to authorize the renewal and levy of a special tax therein, making application to the State Bond Commission in connection therewith, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Move, Mr. Harding, second, Ms. Chauvin. Members vote your machines. Eight yeas, 0 nays. Motion is adopted. Item 2, public wishing to address the council. A, in accordance with section 2-07E of the Terrebonne Parish Home Rule Charter, the public will be heard and can speak for 3 minutes on any matter related to parish government without discussion or questions and answers. On non-agenda item, I have no speaker cards. That brings us down to item 3, committee reports. A, community development and planning. Ms. Chauvin.
I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Community Development Planning Committee held on October 28, 2024, and I have one public hearing. Consider the introduction of an ordinance authorizing the parish president to execute a lease agreement with Grace Lutheran Church for Head Start classroom space and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, November 20th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m.
We have a motion by Ms. Chauvin, second by Mr. Harding. Members vote your machine. Eight yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Item B, Public Services Committee, Mr. Danny Babin.
Thank you, John. I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Service Committee meeting held on Monday, October 28th, 2024, and I have 4 public hearings. Number 1, consider the introduction of an ordinance to appoint Acrisure LLC insurer to serve as agent of record for Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government's property, inland marine, and flood insurance coverage commencing March 1st, 2025, effective through February 28th, 2026, and to exercise the option to renew insurer's contract and call a public hearing on Wednesday, November 20th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Number 2, consider the introduction of an ordinance to appoint Acrisure LLC insurer to serve as agent of record for Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government's casualty insurance coverage commencing April 1st, 2025, effective through March 31st, 2026, and to exercise the option to renew insurer's contract, authorizing a change to the agreement which will facilitate a more efficient method to renew for the second option term, and call a public hearing on Wednesday, November 20th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Number 3, consider the introduction of an ordinance to appoint the Leday Corporation doing business as Leday Insurance insurer to serve as agent of record for Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government's comprehensive fireman's insurance coverage and boiler and machinery coverage, commencing on those dates described herein, to exercise the option to renew insurer's contract, to eliminate the requirement under ordinance number 9524 to sign a new contract in order to exercise the option terms under the agreement, and call a public hearing on Wednesday, November 20th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. And then finally, number 4, consider the introduction of an ordinance to amend section 18-87 under chapter 18 of the Terrebonne Parish Code of Ordinances to designate the intersection of Ellendale Drive and Ardorn Drive in Houma, Louisiana, a 4-way stop intersection, and to authorize the placement of appropriate signs and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, November 20th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m.
I have a motion by Mr. Babin, second by Ms. Chauvin. Members vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Item C, Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee, Mr. Champagne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Procedures, and Legal Committee held on October 28, 2024, and I have no public hearings. Thank you.
We have a motion by Mr. Champagne, second by Ms. Chauvin. Mr. Pleasure, you wanted to speak on this one? Or?
No, I'm just getting ready.
Gotcha. Getting prepared. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Item D, Budget and Finance Committee. Mr. Brian Pledger.
I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee held on October 28, 2024, and I have 3 public hearings. Item number 1, consider the introduction of an ordinance to amend the 2024 adopted operating budget and 5-year capital outlay budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. Item number 1, 5% budget adjustment for criminal court fund, $0. Item number 2, 5% budget adjustment for road district number 1, $79,034. Item number 3, 5% budget adjustment for road lighting district number 2, $23,715. Item number 4, 5% budget adjustment for road lighting district number 3, $5,041. Item number 5, 5% budget adjustment for road lighting district number 4, $19,664. Item number 6, 5% budget adjustment for road district number 5, $20,619. Item number 7, 5% budget adjustment for road lighting district number 6, $31,144. Item number 8, 5% budget adjustment for road lighting district number 7, $37,549. Item number 9, 5% budget adjustment for road lighting district number 8, $7,780. Item number 10, 5% budget adjustment for road district number 9, $12,409. Item number 11, 5% budget adjustment for road lighting district number 10, $1,967. Item number 11, 5% budget adjustment for juvenile detention, $76,691. Item number 13, criminal justice complex generator, $1,026,756. Item number 14, company canal miter gate, $500,000, and calling a public hearing on said matter on November 20th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Number 2, consider the introduction of an ordinance to appoint Anthony J. Alfred Insurance Corporation insurer to serve as the agent of record for employee life, disability, and other benefits for the year 2025, and to exercise the option to renew insurer's contract, authorizing a change to the agreement which will facilitate a more efficient method to renew for the second option term, and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, November 20th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Number 3, consider the introduction of an ordinance to adopt Anthony J. Alfred Insurance Corporation insurer to serve as agent of record for employee group health benefits for medical, dental, and pharmacy for the year of 2025, to exercise the option to renew insurer's contract and to authorize the parish president and designee to enter into an amendment of that contract for the purposes of reducing the insurer's pre-insured broker fee, and calling a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, November 20th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m.
I have a motion by Mr. Pledger, second by Ms. Chauvin. Members, vote your machines. That's a mouthful. 9 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Item 4, streetlights. As per Mr. Babin, second by Mr. Pledger. Members, vote your machines. I don't think. I guess just a vote. Eight yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Item 5, appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. A, Library Board of Control, 3 expiring terms on 11/14/24. Ms. Karen Schilling expresses her interest in being reappointed. Ms. Rosa C. Petrie expresses her interest in being reappointed. Ms. Ann Y. Robichaux submits application and resume for consideration. Ms. Mariah Christie submits application and resume for consideration. Ms. Christy Yillick submits application and resume for consideration. Ms. Sheila Leday submits application and resume for consideration. Mr. Paul Labat submits application for consideration.
Motion to open, close, and appoint Ms. Schilling and Ms.
We have to vote.
Oh, that's right.
Open, close, and vote.
Open, close, and vote.
So Mr. Pleasure makes a motion to open, close, and vote. Second by Mr. Babin. Ms. Alicia, can we get a roll call vote?
Mr. Harding,
Are we voting for all three or just individuals? We vote three of our
The-
choice, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm voting for, Ms. Schilling, Ms. Petrie, and Ms. Robichaux.
Mr. Voisin, Mr. Amity,
Schilling, Yillick, and Leday.
Mr. Champagne,
Schilling, Petrie, and Robichaux.
Mr. Hamner,
Schilling, Petrie, Robichaux.
Mr. Babin,
Schilling, Petrie, Yillick.
Ms. Chauvin, Mr. Trusclair, Mr. Pleasure,
Schilling, Petrie, Robichaux.
we have 7 for Schilling, 5 for Petrie, 5 for Robichaux, 3 for Yillick, and 3 for Leday. Top 3, Schilling, Petrie, and Robichaux.
So Schilling, Petrie, and Robichaux are appointed. Thank you, Ms. Alicia. Item B, Coastal Zone Management. I'm sorry. Ms. Schilling, would you like, any of the people that were just appointed or reappointed? Ms. Schilling, I see you in the audience, would like to say anything? And then, I don't know, I don't see Ms. Petrie.
No, she had a commitment.
Okay. And Ms. Robichaux? No.
Yes, I am short, and I adjusted.
You're just vertically challenged.
Thank you. I appreciate your vote, and I want to assure you that I am an avid user of the library. I'm avidly committed to the quality of life in this parish, and I'll do this job as you have appointed me with the utmost integrity and everything that I have to keep things wonderful for us. So I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Schilling. Congratulations. Absolutely. So, Ms. Mary, we just want to recognize you and thank you for all the work that you do in the library and the library system. It's a first-class operation. And you want to say any words, or you're good?
I'm good, but you can't do it by yourself. I have a wonderful staff. So,
And congratulations to all of you.
thank you. We're going to eat.
You want? Go ahead. Mr. Hamlin, quit pressing your button.
I got to say this. I had a couple of events there this week, and with a lot of people from out of town, and they rant and raved about the Terrebonne Parish Library. They enjoyed the hospitality that the library gave us. Mary, I was going to say it later, but since you're standing here, thank you for all you did for the retired teachers this week. They were totally impressed. Totally impressed. And we got a first-class library system. It's a model system for the whole state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamner. Mr. Babin?
Yeah, this is really refreshing to see how many people wanted to be on the library board. We have a hard time as a council sometimes filling boards and commissions. So that tells me that there's a real want and need in the community for people to participate, and I applaud you for that. But just because if you were not put on this board tonight, that doesn't mean, don't stop here. Go to the library board meetings, express your concerns about it, and I know that the people on that board will definitely listen. So again, thank all of y'all for putting your names on here, because it's a rarity that we have that many people that want to serve on boards. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Item B, Coastal Zone Management and Restoration, 3 expiring terms on 10/31/24, 1 representing marine navigation, 1 representing the oil industry, 1 representing flood concerns appointed by the parish president. Mr. Mickey Thomas, representing marine navigation, expresses his interest in being reappointed. Mr. Jan Rogers, representing the oil industry, expresses his interest in being reappointed. Mr. Benji C. Poisson, representing the oil industry, submits application and resume for consideration.
Close and reappoint Mr. Thomas and Mr. Rogers and appoint Mr. Poisson.
So I have a motion by Mr. Babin to open, close, and appoint Mr. Thomas, Mr. Rogers, or reappoint Mr. Thomas, Mr. Rogers, and appoint Mr. Poisson. Seconded by Mr. Champagne. Members, vote your machines. Nine yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. Item C, Children and Youth Services Board, 2 expiring terms on 11/16/24, each representing the following faith-based organization and Terrebonne Parish Juvenile Justice Detention Center, and 3 expired terms, each representing one of the following: Bayou Area Children Foundation, Gulf Coast Teaching and Family Services, and Houma Police Department. Ms. Brandy Lerep, representing Gulf Coast Teaching and Family Services, submits application and resume for consideration. Mr. Joseph Harris expresses his interest in being reappointed.
Open, close, and reappoint Ms. Leeret and Mr. Harris.
Ms. Lerep is application. All right, so Mr. Babin makes a motion to reappoint Mr. Harris and appoint Ms. Lerep and hold the others. Second by Mr. Champagne. Members, vote your machine. 9 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Item D, Houma Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, 1 expiring term on 12/31/24, representing a civic nonprofit organization. Mr. William B. Bislin Sr. expresses his interest in being reappointed.
Open, close, and reappoint Mr. Bismarck.
We have a motion to open, close, and reappoint Mr. Bisman by Mr. Danny Babin, seconded by Mr. Champagne. Members, vote your machines. Nine yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Item 6, staff reports. Parish President Jason W. Bergeron is requesting ratification of his recommendation of Mr. Jeff DeBlue to the Coastal Zone Management Board.
Open, close, and appoint Mr. Jeff W. Second.
So we have a motion to accept the parish president's recommendation of Mr. DeBlue. Members vote, who's second? Mr. Champagne seconds it. Members, vote your machines. We'll get it straight, folks. Long 3 days. Did everybody vote?
Yeah, I voted.
9 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. I like how some people just jump. I did, because they're usually guilty of it.
You're not mentioning any names.
No names.
No, Brian.
Green dress?
No, I watch Brian. Brian keeps poking that thing. He don't have enough static in his body to get that thing to work right. We're gonna have to charge him up a little bit. Item 7 is vacancies to various boards, committees, and commissions. A, Recreation District 2-3 Board, 1 expired term. Coto Fire Protection District Board, 1 expired term. Children and Youth Services Board, 1 expiring term on 11/16/24, representing a faith-based organization, and 2 expired terms, each representing one of the following: Bayou Area Children Foundation and Houma Police Department. Downtown Development Corporation, 3 expiring terms on 11/1/24, each representing one of the following: 2 representing the council and 1 representing the Chamber of Commerce, and 3 expired terms, each representing the following entities: 1 representing the Parish Council, 1 representing the Historical Society, and 1 representing Downtown Merchants. Municipal Civil Service Board, 1 expired term representing the council, and 1 vacancy due to resignation, representing the council nominated by Nicholls State University. Terrebonne Parish Tree Board, 1 expired term and 1 vacancy due to resignation. Veterans Memorial District Board, 1 vacancy due to resignation and representing the parish president south of the Intercoastal. TITA, 1 expired term representing the Terrebonne Parish Council. Board of Adjustments, 1 expired term. Planning Commission, 2 expired terms on 11/29/24. Item 8 is announcements. Mr. Parish, Kim, you had something you wanted to say?
I'm just, sorry.
All right.
Okay, so on the TITA board, do we really have an appointment? Because I've asked that and I don't think that we do.
It's something that keeps getting piled on, so
what-
please
we
give us
have
the
a member
explanation.
who was appointed by the council 2 years ago. He fulfilled an unfulfilled term. He was up for reappointment. He's retired state police. He was consulting for them and was looking to possibly take a job offer that they were offering him. If he does that, he cannot serve on a public board.
Okay.
So we're kind of in limbo. I just found out today that he has accepted that position, and I have another application to turn into Miss Tammy. Talked to her about it. She told me to get it to her tomorrow, and we'll get it through.
Okay, thank
So
you.
we're on top of it.
All right.
I promise you.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. All right, Mr. Parish President, announcements.
So we have a couple events going on this weekend, both Saturday, November 2nd, the Children's Water Survival, Pastelai Cook-Off and Car Show in the Courthouse Square, and then the market at the marina that happens under the bridge. And I wanted to share, there was some questions or conversations related to the loan program with HRI. And so the funds providing the loan to HRI are generated from federal housing grant loan repayments. Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government maximizes federal housing grants by providing income generating loans to for-profit and nonprofit developers. Loan repayments from this revolving fund are held for future housing reinvestment. Most of the funds being loaned to HRI are to develop the West Tunnel Lofts, were generated from a loan provided to the same developer to build and later renovate Bon Terre Village. And so I know some conversations about why aren't we applying it to roads and why aren't we doing this? This is a continual program that we do to make sure that we deal with the housing crisis that we currently have. Right now, we're looking at about 800 units that we are short from a housing crisis. And so between this project, the Parkwood Place project, which received bond approval from the State Bond Commission, you're looking at probably 150-ish units of the 800 unit shortage that we have now. And so we're basically just taking the funds and reusing them over and over again to work on getting more housing units in Terrebonne Parish. And so if anybody has any questions, they can definitely reach out to us for more information. Thank you.
Thank you again for explaining that, because I've gotten several questions and I explained it to the people as well. They thought we were becoming a bank. They, I guess, wanted a loan. So, Mr. Clayton Wazan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to say for Halloween, everybody that's going to be out and about, please be safe, stay in the well-lighted areas. And if you're going to be on the road in your vehicle, please be aware of the children and the people that's going to be on the streets for Halloween. And please be safe and drive slow. That's probably the best recipe for success. Second, I'd like to congratulate the Terrebonne Parish Recreation girls volleyball team. The LA Stingers won. They won the championship tonight in volleyball. And my granddaughter, Cameron Dumont, is on the team. So congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Wazan. Mr. Danny Babin.
Next Tuesday is election day, and your preference to whoever you vote for but just go vote. It's important. It's one of the privileges and the rights we have in this country. So please go out and exercise that right. And along the lines with all the we mentioned about the boards and commissions that are getting ready to come up. We just listed 6 or 7 boards and commissions that are very vital to Terrebonne Parish. This council could not operate without board, and this government could not operate without boards and commissions. So every one of them are very unique and important to this parish. So please, if you have an interest in helping your community, take a look at one of these and put your name in and help serve your community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Ms. Chauvin.
Okay, have a few of them. So at Vision Christian Center, I think it's tomorrow, they're gonna have the Hallelujah Night. Also at the locality fire department, they have some festivities starting at 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. I also like to wish a happy 15th birthday to my grandson Destin. And on November 8th, Vision Christian also has a veteran celebration that starts at 6:30. There is a meal provided. A lot of the folks that go to the church cook a really good meal. I'll be making seafood gumbo and chicken and sausage gumbo and quite a few other things. So they're going to have an array of food. So we would love to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chauvin. Ms. Chauvin makes a motion to adjourn. Second by Mr. Hamner. Members, vote your machine.
John, we have a special meeting tomorrow night, right?
Another meeting tomorrow?
I keep reading.
Congratulations.